KENJAKU vs YUTA Okotsu isn't just a fight between two powerful sorcerers. It's a clash between the oldest mastermind in jujutsu history and the most gifted prodigy of the modern era. One represents centuries of knowledge, preparation, and manipulation. The other represents raw, overwhelming talent so absurd that even Gojo Satoru called him special. This isn't a battle of punches and kicks. It's a war between experience and potential. Strategy versus power. 1,000 years of planning against a teenager who breaks the rules of the system just by existing. And what makes this matchup terrifying is simple. Both of them cheat the very mechanics of Jujutsu Kaisen. Both of them bend the power system. Both of them fight unfair, which means when they collide, the fight stops being normal sorcery and starts becoming a battle of hacks. KENJAKU is not strong because he hits hard. He's strong because he always has an answer. For over 1,000 years, KENJAKU has survived by jumping bodies, stealing techniques, and stacking advantages. Every new host adds more tools to his arsenal. Every generation makes him more dangerous. By the time we see him in the modern era, he isn't just a curse user. He's a walking library of cursed techniques. A strategist who has studied sorcerers across centuries. A man who orchestrated the entire Shibuya incident like a chess game. And physically, he's no slouch either. Because KENJAKU isn't trapped in some weak civilian body. He's inhabiting Suguru Geto's corpse, which means he inherits Geto's monstrous physical stats and, more importantly, cursed spirit manipulation. This ability alone is already top tier. It allows him to absorb, store, and deploy thousands of cursed spirits at will. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. Each one with unique abilities. Each one a potential special grade threat. In practice, this means KENJAKU doesn't fight alone. He fights with an army. He can overwhelm opponents through numbers, distractions, or simply throw special grade spirits at them until something lands. And if that wasn't enough, he can extract techniques from spirits and use them himself. Then there's his gravity technique, an ability that casually pins special grade sorcerers to the ground, crushes structures, and distorts space itself. It bypasses conventional defense because it isn't a projectile or a punch. It's force, pure, unavoidable force, pressing down on you from every direction. And on top of all of this, KENJAKU has one of the sharpest combat IQs in the entire series. He outsmarted Gojo. He manipulated Mahito. He played the entire Jujutsu Society like pieces on a board. He doesn't rush fights. He dissects opponents. He studies them mid-battle. Then he dismantles them. But across the battlefield stands someone equally terrifying. YUTA Okotsu, the anomaly. The child labeled second only to Gojo Satoru, a boy who became special grade not because of training, but because his cursed energy reserves are so massive that the system literally had to classify him as a natural disaster. While most sorcerers worry about conserving energy, YUTA fights like he has infinity, because for all practical purposes, he does. His cursed energy pool dwarfs almost everyone in the series. Even seasoned veterans get shocked by how much output he can maintain. But that's only the surface. YUTA's real weapon is Rika, the Queen of Curses, a fully manifested external entity that functions like a second fighter, a storage unit, and a power amplifier all at once. When Rika manifests, YUTA's combat level spikes dramatically. His physical stats jump, his cursed output explodes, and suddenly he's fighting like two special grades at the same time. You're not fighting one opponent, you're fighting a duo that coordinates perfectly. And then comes the most broken part of his kit, copy. YUTA can replicate other cursed techniques, not temporarily mimic, not approximate, fully copy. Cursed speech, Shikigami techniques, barrier skills. He just adds them to his arsenal, which means every fight makes him stronger. Every opponent is potential new equipment. KENJAKU collects techniques through centuries of preparation. YUTA collects them mid-battle. That's terrifying. Physically, YUTA has already shown he can keep up with top-tier threats. He overwhelmed Geto. He fought evenly with special-grade curses. He handled Sendai Colony monsters back-to-back without exhaustion. He even clashed with KENJAKU's level fighters without folding. And unlike most heavy hitters, YUTA also has insane reverse curse technique mastery. He heals himself. He heals others. Severe injuries that would end most fights barely slow him down. So when these two meet, what happens? The first phase is control. KENJAKU floods the field with cursed spirits. YUTA counters with Rika. Immediately the fight becomes chaos. Dozens of spirits swarming from every direction. Rika tearing through them like a monster. YUTA cutting through the rest with overwhelming cursed output. KENJAKU testing. YUTA adapting. Kenjaku would try to overwhelm him with numbers, but here's the problem. Yuta is one of the few characters in the series who simply doesn't get tired. Attrition doesn't work on him. Throwing fodder at Yuta is useless. So Kenjaku moves to techniques: gravity manipulation, wide-range attacks, environmental destruction. And this is where things get tricky, because gravity is one of the few abilities that doesn't care about durability. It pins, it crushes, it bypasses traditional defenses. If Yuta gets caught cleanly, he takes serious damage. But Yuta's mobility plus Rika's interference makes landing that clean hit extremely difficult. And then we reach the scariest scenario for Kenjaku: copy. If Yuta observes Kenjaku long enough, there's a real possibility he copies one of his techniques. Imagine Yuta with gravity manipulation, or cursed spirit control, or any of Kenjaku's centuries of collected abilities. That's the nightmare, because Kenjaku thrives on having more tools than his opponent. But Yuta can steal the toolbox. Now add domain expansion into the mix. Kenjaku has a domain refined through centuries, barrier mastery that rivals Tengen herself. But Yuta's domain, combined with Rika and copy techniques, becomes an unpredictable nightmare. And in domain clashes, raw cursed energy and output matter heavily. That's Yuta's specialty. If domains collide, Yuta has the advantage in pure energy reserves. The longer the fight drags on, the worse it becomes for Kenjaku. Because Yuta doesn't slow down, he doesn't run out, he doesn't panic, he just keeps stacking pressure. Meanwhile, Kenjaku, despite all his experience, is still human, still limited, still killable. And we've already seen something important in the manga. Kenjaku avoids direct confrontation with Yuta. That tells you everything. A 1,000-year mastermind doesn't avoid fights unless the risk is real, very real. Kenjaku absolutely has win conditions. His intelligence, planning, and technique variety could outplay Yuta in specific scenarios. A perfectly executed strategy or domain trap could end things quickly. But in a straight, head-on battle with no prep, against full-power Yuta and fully manifested Rika, the raw stats gap becomes overwhelming. Because sometimes experience loses to sheer absurd talent, and Yuta Okotsu is absurd talent incarnate. In most encounters, Kenjaku fights smart. Yuta fights unstoppable. And unstoppable tends to beat smart when the numbers get this ridiculous. Yuta overwhelms. Yuta outlasts. Yuta eventually breaks through. Kenjaku is the better mastermind. But Yuta is the stronger monster. Yuta Okotsu takes the majority.